Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, thank you for subscribing. Today we are back on the world's cheapest Turbo 240SX drift build. And I know you guys are going to get tired of me saying that, but we still haven't named it, so that's what we're going to call it for now. Today we're going to focus on getting some stuff finalized on the interior so that we can move on to getting it running. In the last video, we put the engine in, put a truck transmission in the car, and we kind of made a custom transmission mount that will hopefully keep it in place. I made it pretty substantial. It's not the prettiest mount, but I'm sure it'll work. Again, trying to keep costs really low. At the end of this series, I'm going to put all of the totals together so you know exactly how much it costs me to build this car. If you're patient, you can find these shells rolling for pretty cheap. Not like they used to be where you could buy a car for 300 bucks, but you know, relatively cheap for 2024 when this thing's going to be competing. So today we're going to hop inside, we're going to get the air boxes installed and get the heater functioning again. Whenever I come across one of these 240s, someone always has torn out the air boxes, and I don't understand why. If you're looking to build a competitive drift car that's pro spec or something like that, I understand taking the airbox out and converting it just to something that has an easy defrost. But if you're, if you're looking at a seat time car and you're removing the airboxes, just don't. There's no reason to when you're trying to retain simple functions like a defrost, which is all we're trying to get here. It's a little bit of heat and a defrost, okay? Just leave the airboxes alone. What do they do to you? Let's hop in there. Let me show you what's going on. I'll link the video of the last one here so you can see where we got this car and what we're doing with it. And some of the other videos we do around here, if you're new, check these out. I think you'll enjoy them. If you didn't see the last video, you don't really know what's going on, but this interior was basically completely stripped minus, the steering column. It's basically disconnected. And the wiring harness, which is a mess as well. So what we're gonna do is get it cleaned up. I'm gonna get it vacuumed out, get all of the pine needles and rat poop and all that stuff out of here first. Then we're gonna get everything bolted in, because you can see this brace isn't even bolted in. There's no air boxes. All of the climate controls on the ground there. All in all, pretty solid base for a good car. So we're going to get things vacuumed out. We're going to get all of the wiring kind of looked at. There was an alarm installed as well. And I don't know if any of you have ever worked on other people's wiring, but it's never a good idea to let someone put alarms in that don't know what they're doing. It doesn't look that bad, actually. I don't know what this is. Directed electronics. That's concerning. So let's start vacuuming, and I'll get you in here when I find something crazy, which probably won't be very long. Fixed it. We're gonna get this support bar out. In order to get the air boxes in and figure out this wiring, I'm going to pull this bar out of here so we can get more access. And I think that there was one bolt holding it all together. So, yep, shocking. We've got climate control. And if you didn't watch the first video, you don't understand the wiring. It's very weird. Whoever had this car prior to me, they moved all of the relay and fuse panels to the back of the car, and they ran new wires all the way back there, which is just an incredible amount of work for very little gain. And I think it's purely aesthetic to make sure you can't see any fuse boxes under the hood, but never been on that boat. And we're gonna have to figure out what they did. They just wrapped electrical tape around what they extended. Crazy. Just crazy. This came with the car. This came with the car. And I had to go through my shed to find a complete blower motor, and I was missing the mode door from the car, so I found this one in my shed. This came with the car, so we're gonna get these three installed, and then we'll get the defroster installed as well, because it's nice to have one. Stop taking these out of the cars, God. And then we'll get the brace back in, then we'll get the wiring attached to the brace, filter out what we don't need with the wiring underneath the steering wheel, and scrap everything else. Oh yeah, I found a brake pedal and a clutch pedal, which is really cool. These are hard to find, and I had them in my shed, so that's solid. Yeah, let's get this stuff installed. I mean, we're here. Might as well give them a little scrub. It's fine. It's fine. They must have just pulled these out, because I just found the bolt or the nut. It's like, leave them in there. It's probably you, Anthony. You sneaky little. What's that for? What is even that, dude?
What the hell is even that?
It's crazy. So I took all of the remote start and anti-theft sensors and things out, because we don't need that. Got the brace back in. Everything's working pretty well. The mode doors actually work on the head unit. So I'm gonna filter through some of the wiring and get the clutch and brake pedal in, and then I have a slave cylinder for a D21, and who knows, it might work. While we're talking about it, I'm curious. So this is the clutch master cylinder out of that black D21. Wow, that's so funny. The only thing is that might be too long, so we might need to cut that down and throw it on the lathe and just cut a couple threads in it. All right, so we're gonna get this thing bolted in, but something's wrong with the steering bracket. It looks a little crooked, so we're gonna gently move it into place. It's way off. Saved this brake pedal from a different 240, I have no idea. But I even saved the little pins for the pistons on the master cylinders. Great idea. Why do they make this so difficult? I just don't understand. New clutch pedal that I found in the shed, free. If you buy a 240, they usually come with these. So, you know, unless it's an automatic, then you up, dude. Take your D21 master cylinder, carefully slide it in there, aim for the black bar on the pedal, and hope it's the right length. Now that we have the clutch and brake pedal installed, much more difficult than I remember it being, but not a problem. Both were free to me because I had them in the shed. I've got a shed absolutely full of parts just from over the years. Typically, your car will come with pedals. Before we get the dash in, I'd like to get the carpet installed so we're not fighting the carpet around the dash. This makes a little bit more sense. But before we put the carpet in, I need to get seats in it. And I was surfing Facebook last night at 9 p.m. just like everybody else, and I found these. And yes, they are cheap, but they're brand new, and I got them for 300 bucks. And they came with brackets and sliders. So, ouch. You know, one of the more expensive parts. But they're nice. And my car didn't come with seats. So, let's see if these G35 brackets fit. Yeah. They're not the right brackets. They came with sliders and brackets for a G35, which is obviously not a 240. So we're going to see if they fit, and when they don't, we are going to modify them so that they do fit. Why is there 3 of these? I don't know. Oh my gosh, we got bolts. Nice. All right. Like I said, they don't fit at all. That's a problem. It's almost like deja vu all over again. All we gotta do is cut the bracket here. I'm not gonna utilize the pickup point for the seat belts because it's sketchy and these are very thin and I don't like them. It's a little too skinny, so we're gonna cut off the tab on this side and move it over a little bit. We gotta bend these down about 20 more degrees and then adjust this, basically pivot this one so it is vertical, and it'll go onto the stud there. And then I think this back one might line up. We're probably just gonna have to drill a hole and it'll be pretty good. As you can see, I actually already did the other one. That one was much harder. Much harder. Okay. So on the front, I'm gonna have to extend it a little bit. So we're gonna use this one. I'm gonna cut this off at the hole, extend it a little bit, and then bend it down so that this side gets raised up so that the seat is level. All right, so this is what we're looking at. This needs to come up right there. And that means we need to build a bracket to span that gap. I already finished this passenger side. I actually had to cut this one in half. It was like an inch too wide, so I don't know if a G35 has different size seat rails from passenger to driver, or if this is just a completely different bracket, because the kit I got off Facebook, it also had 4 sets of sliders. So that's weird. So we've tacked that on. I'm gonna build a gusset to go in between here and here, and then support it on the back. But we are bolted in, and the back needs to get adjusted a little bit, right about there, and build those 2 brackets, and we're good to go. We're pretty close here. I've got front tacked on. I made a little bracket to the corner, which I'll show you in a little bit. And now we got to put this guy on. Made a little bracket. Line it up, and then we're gonna get this thing tacked in place. It's level. Looks good to me. Pull it out for final welding, and then we'll put the carpet in and get the seats in. This one was much more complicated, as you can see. It's got like towers on it.
Perfect.
Interior's in, carpet's in. Most of the dash is in. We still have to get the center console and the shifter figured out. We did have to block off the original shifter because the new transmission out of the D21 is much shorter. I know most people would say, hey, get the longer transmission, but they're just getting too expensive. And if you strip of a gear, I learned from experience from TJ that it is hard to find the actual gears for the trans. I'm assuming you could probably swap D21 and 240SX transmission gears. But again, these D21 transmissions are so cheap and so readily available that there's just no reason for me not to use them, especially with how aggressive we drive and how much we abuse these cars. This is going to be the lowest budget drift car that I've seen, other than those completely stock, you know, like Z's and stuff like that, where you can pick up a totaled one for nothing and drive those. But I don't want to drive a Z. Okay, I want to drive this. This is me. But that'll be it for this video. If you enjoyed the build so far, stay tuned. The next video, we're gonna get the gas tank in, get the brake calipers on. We're gonna finalize some of the plumbing. Hopefully, get the front end on. Maybe, I'm assuming, and a drive shaft. I found a drive shaft in my shed that is so long. It's longer than a 240 drive shaft. A one piece, like it's a foot longer. I have no idea what it is, but we'll cross that bridge in the next video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. It does help out a lot. I still don't get paid for any of these videos, but I truly enjoy making them for myself and for you. So we'll catch you on the next one.